So I will welcome you at this time to the May 6, 2008 joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority. Mr. City Clerk, if you could call the roll for the City Council, please.
Council members Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Yusefian.
Here.
Mayor Draymond.
Here.
Maybe have a roll call for the authority, please.
Authority members Draymond.
Here.
Mincy.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Karazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Yusefian.
Here.
Thank you. Could we have your report, please?
The agenda for the May 6, 2008 joint public meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, May 1, 2008 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
And could we hear the item at 1A for the record, please?
Item 1 is Director of Community Development and Housing regarding status report of the 13-unit homeless family transitional housing program. At 1A is a authority motion approving change in project sponsorship to Path Achieve Glendale.
Okay, let me ask the city manager who will be talking to us.
Jess Duran.
Jess Duran.
Jess, want to get the staff report. Jess?
Thank you, Mr. Starbird. Mayor Draymond, members of the City Council, Chairman Yosefian, members of the Glendale Housing Authority. The department is requesting approval of a change in sponsorship of an existing family transitional housing program from the YWCA to Path Achieve Glendale. As part of the city's continuum of care since 1996, the YWCA has been operating homeless transitional housing programs that target victims of domestic violence. They currently operate 3 programs, 2 residential programs and a women's service center. The YWCA has determined that it can no longer operate the 13-unit family transitional housing program. In anticipation of their need to withdraw, they have met with the owners of the property, who is the Verdugo Housing Corporation, which is a local nonprofit entity that back in 1996 received $1.1 million from the Housing Authority to assist in the acquisition and rehabilitation of the building for the purpose of facilitating this project. So they are the owners of the property. And the YWCA and the Housing Corporation has also met with PATH to determine their capacity to take over the program. And, of course, they've also met with the city representatives. So we've all determined that PATH would indeed be a local, qualified nonprofit service provider that could take over the program. And one of the goals is to be able to transition the program as smoothly and seamlessly as possible. So the cooperation between the YWCA and PATH is very critical, and thus far we've had that cooperation and the support of the Verdugo Housing Corporation, again, the owners of the property. Now, based on our homeless needs assessment, or our point in time count, approximately 14% of the homeless population is identified as homeless as a result of domestic violence, and PATH is committed to maintaining at least 25% of the population in the family transitional housing program as families with a history of domestic violence. And by the nature of the homeless population, the percentage will probably be greater than that based on what they see already at their one-stop access center. Currently, the YWCA receives $217,000 from the City of Glendale and SHP funds administered by our department, and so that contract would need to be transferred to PATH as well, and so we would have to work on that. We have had a preliminary discussion and review by HUD, and HUD has given indications that it would approve the transfer because it'll remain in the as a service to families and children. There is a third family transitional housing program for victims of domestic violence operated by the Antelope Valley Domestic Violence Council. They were approached to gauge their interest in running this program and indicated that they were not able to at this time due to financial issues. So we are here today to request the City Council and Housing Authority's approval to approve PATH as a new project sponsor. And under the Affordable Housing Agreement between the Housing Authority and the Housing Corporation, there is a provision which gives the Housing Corporation the responsibility of replacing a service provider whenever it would become necessary. So that's what this is.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Mr. Quintero.
Mr. Duran, you stated that the YWCA will continue to operate those other two service points and
Correct.
programs, right?
Correct.
So it's just this one. And Project Achieve, has it had this many units under its care or
Yes.
past?
Councilman Quintero, Achieve Glendale currently operates 3 other transitional housing programs in the city of Glendale, in addition to the emergency shelter and in addition to the one-stop center. And they are a subsidiary of the larger PATH organization, so they have a lot of resources available to them.
Okay. And have the people been hired yet that are going to be the on-site managers or whatever are you looking for?
Yeah, I'll defer to PATH.
Good afternoon. I'm Natalie Profont-Camaro of Path Achieve Glendale. We're currently talking to the current resident manager. Ideally, if we can continue to employ the same people, that's always good for continuity's sake. It is a change in program, however, so we have to look and see how well that does fit, because we're not going to be operating it in exactly the same way the YWCA operates the program.
What type of changes do you think are going to be?
Well, as was mentioned, we're not going to be exclusively a domestic violence program. We'll be open to other populations that we typically see that come to our access center. We will be leveraging the case management from our access center as well. So there we have folks with expertise in employment, mental health, substance abuse, and recovery. And to the extent we might have veterans in this house, we would have services available to them through the access center.
But you're going to try to do at least 25% domestic violence.
Yes, sadly, that's probably going to be easy to do.
And how do you go about trying to sort of make sure that Glendale residents are the sort of first served? How do you go about doing that? If you have referrals from...
Well, that's
Angeles or
always
something.
difficult. It's always sort of a temporal thing, is who comes through our doors, and we'll do our screening. The extent to which, I actually don't have data on the extent to which we turn away Glendale residents, but I think that's rare. I also should point out that this facility right now does not serve Glendale residents because they're all victims of domestic violence referred out from outside the city. So that would also be a change for this particular project.
Okay. We go to Councilmember Yusefian and then Councilmember Najarian.
Currently, is the facility fully occupied?
We have it fully occupied, I believe, is that?
And are the current people who are there currently, are they all victims of domestic violence?
Yes. Path Achieve did all the screening in the last month to get the building to full capacity, and we ensured that they all had a history of domestic violence.
Okay, so this is something that you did, or YWCA did?
Yes, we did the initial screening. We agreed as part of the agreement for transitioning that we wanted to know the people who were coming into the building, so we did the original assessment and screening. Then we referred to the YWCA, and then they did their screening and assessment as well, and then they made the final determination as to who would come into the building.
Okay, the reason I ask is because I wanted to know if anybody's going to be kicked out of the program because there's a change in...
Because there's a change, no. If they don't follow the rules, that's another matter, but no, if they are compliant, we will bring in additional clients through attrition, so ideally we'll be moving families to their own home, and then when there's vacancies, we'll take it from there in terms of who comes in next.
Okay. Considering the fact that there is a lot of need for domestic violence facility, and this was what it was built for originally, why do you want a 25% domestic violence guarantee? Why not 50%? Why not 80%?
I think the idea behind that was to allow for flexibility. That was set as a minimal standard to ensure that there is some targeting to that population. There's nothing to prevent us from having more victims of domestic violence at that facility. So it wasn't meant as a ceiling, it's meant as a floor in terms of our numbers.
Well, originally the floor was 100%.
Exactly. That's true. But what we're finding in Glendale is that there weren't as many victims of domestic violence from Glendale coming in and needing services. And so the city recommendation was based on their understanding of the data. And as we'd mentioned at the Women's Commission, we would be happy to revisit the data. There is an annual assessment of the homeless population in Glendale every year. So we can take another look and see if we have to target it, or it may be just through the simple operation of the program, the numbers are going to be high anyway. As we mentioned, this is going to be for women and children, and that unto itself would sort of narrow that pool that would be more likely to be victims of domestic violence.
And speaking of data, what do you base that data on? Where did you get that data from?
Well, the city conducted their own homeless count. So I don't want to speak on their behalf. I wasn't here when they did it, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Before we go over there I'll tell you what my concern is. People who are victims of domestic violence, generally majority of them have children that the mother would take the kids with them, and so they have a facility that it's safe for not just only the mother, also the children. I worry when you talk about people who have substance abuse problems, other type of people who may not have kids. There may be a male person living in the same building in close quarters, proximity with people who are vulnerable, like a mother with children. That's why I wanted to know if, in one hand, you say that you would have no problem filling the place with people who are victims of domestic violence because you have a lot of them, then on the other hand you want to have flexibility, and I don't understand one doesn't jive with the other. And so I'm trying to understand in my mind, if you have so many people who are victims of domestic violence, and it's very jarring for a family to move and go somewhere else, it makes me very nervous when my next door apartment is going to be somebody who is dealing with substance abuse, for example.
I'd be happy to respond to that. And what I meant by flexibility is that in domestic violence programs, if a woman has used a drug within the past 90 days, sometimes it's as recently as 6 months, they will not be entered into that program. In our program, you have to test sober, but if you've been recently using drugs, we will definitely be working on recovery issues. But often you will see a coincidence of drug use and domestic violence or alcohol abuse. And so untangling those different problems from a single family and saying, well, we'll help you if you only have a domestic violence problem, but if you've had a problem with drugs or alcohol, you can't come into this program, leaves a whole segment of that population without services. And so I think one of the things that we bring to this, which is a real strength and asset, is that we have the capacity to work with women who have had a history, whether they were the user or maybe it was the partner who was the user, but they're going to still need some counseling and work to address those issues, and we have the staffing and capacity to do that. So I think that's one aspect of it that I think speaks to your concern.
That's it.
Is that it? Does that answer? Okay.
Let me move on to Councilmember Najarian.
Thank you. A couple of the same concerns, just so I'm straight on it. You would be reserving 25% for domestic violence homeless in this 13 unit, and the others are going to be your typical homeless, if I could use that word, or homeless from substance abuse.
Well, let me put it this way. It's women and children. It's as many women and children as we can fit in a one-bedroom or two-bedroom. There are a couple of two-bedroom apartments in this building. So the 25% domestic violence is a minimum standard that we're looking for women who've had that in their background so they have a place to go to. As I said earlier, that when you're looking at women and children, you're going to have a higher incidence of domestic violence than you would, say, among the two-parent families that we have coming in, or the single fathers. So in that regard, we don't really expect to see a huge reduction in the number of victims of domestic violence coming into the program. But the other women who come in could be that they didn't have a history of domestic violence, but they've just had tremendous economic setbacks. And being a single mother, they have economic challenges that they haven't been able to overcome, and they could really benefit from a transitional housing program.
And so no adult males in the facility?
No, this particular facility will not allow any adult males. So that's why it's going to be important that our emergency housing program is still available to those families with men.
If a Will Smith shows up with his
No, he has to go to
Goodwill
Fernando
Hunting
Court.
style,
He doesn't get to go there.
Are there other facilities for?
Yes, we have an emergency housing program, and then we have we master lease apartments in the community, so they can go out into the community scattered site apartments.
Oh yeah, In Pursuit of Happiness. I'm sorry, wrong.
We sing Independence
That's
Day.
Mixing your movies.
Thank you.
Okay, Brazu.
Yeah, my question is not for Pat Chief. I have big concern about the alarming number of homeless children in 2007, and I believe that will add up maybe half of the 43 the result of domestic violence. Children from homeless children from as a result of domestic violence. So, do you know why the number is rising? Maybe, I don't know.
Good afternoon, Mayor Draymond, members of the City Council and Housing Authority. My name is Yvette Samvalian. Every year, the Glendale Department of Community Development and Housing and the Continuum of Care conducts an unduplicated count of homeless individuals in the city of Glendale. On an annual basis, last year our count was in a week period from January 24th to January 31st. We conducted a needs assessment, and what we do, we normally go out to the community and count homeless clients that are out on the streets or homeless clients that are accessing services during that one period of the week. And then the Homeless Coalition selects one day, which is the point in time count, which was selected on January 24th, to count or select that date to use the data for our notice of funding application, which is our application to HUD, and that's how we determine the need. Every year when we go out to the community, we conduct a needs assessment, and during that one period is all the clients or all the homeless individuals that are outside not getting services. It varies from each year. Comparing 2006 versus 2007, we did see an increase in number of children in terms of women and children. And we saw a decrease in terms of the domestic violence from 14% to 38% in 2006. Every year we conduct the needs assessment in order for us to create programs that better fit the needs of our continuum of care and have projects that we're able to fit, or projects that we're able to serve our clients. In terms of women and children, we have seen a lot of increases amongst all of the programs in the continuum of care. This last year, Access Center, Panther Chief Glendale Access Center, and Emergency Shelter has been serving a lot more women and children this past couple of years versus single individuals or adults. So the needs assessment is conducted on an annual basis, and that's how we're able to create programs to fit the gaps in the continuum.
Did you get your answer? All right. Mr. Mincy, you have no questions?
No.
Okay. Let me go to, we have one speaker, Dr. Kathy Mathis.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Kathy Mathis with the Glendale YWCA. I'm the director of the domestic violence programs there. I just wanted to say that to add to what Pat the Chief has already said is that the clientele that we have currently been serving will still be served because it's ladies coming into the community from outside the community. The ladies that are in our community with their children, when they come to us, we refer outside the community for safety reasons. So this does not impact the women and children already living in the city of Glendale when they come to us for assistance if they need shelter, because we don't keep them in our shelter anyway. So the effect of PATH taking over this program is the same as what it is right now currently, because we don't have the ladies that are in that program from our community. The other thing about this transfer is that women seeking the services coming into this community actually will be getting more services with other things besides domestic violence. We're strictly a domestic violence agency, so our main concern is safety and domestic violence issues, whereas Path Achieve offers outside those services, other services to the women already. Plus, we have a real good working relationship with Path Achieve and have referred to them our clients as well. So that will continue. And the clients that they have that have domestic violence issues, they will refer to us, and we'll still be serving the ladies in the program that need our services as well. So I just wanted to add that to the rest of the information that you've received already today.
Thank you very much. All right, we have another questions or comments?
I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Sapien.
From anybody who prepared the document, I'm pretty sure there's documents that need to be signed to turn. Is there anywhere in the document that basically deals with my concern, I think it's the Najarian's concern, that this be a place that is serving mostly women and children, and no male adults?
Is it in the document? I'm assuming it is, but I don't want to make that assumption because it is only for women and children.
I'm asking
in fact,
because
we're
I
not.
don't want to assume.
Good question.
Yes, Chairman Yousefin, it will be in our documents, our agreements with HUD. This will be funded as a family transitional housing program for women and children only.
Okay.
So it clarifies
part of the project description.
Right. Okay. If there are no other comments, shall we move forward, please? It's listed here as an authority motion. So.
I'll move the...
Pardon me? No.
I'll move for the authority.
Second. The motion is second. Roll call.
Authority members Draymond,
Yes.
Mincy,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Razian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chairman Yusefian.
Aye.
Move for the city council.
Second.
Motion and second. City Council is adjourned.
Is there a motion for
For
authority?
authority.
That's for adjournment.
Adjourn for the
We're
authority.
To be adjourned.
We're adjourned.
Motion for the authority?
So we already adjourned.
No, that was for council.
Fast.
Council was on that side.
We are fast, Mr. Clerk.
Authority was these two guys.